The slap hit me before I even understood what was happening, sharp, sudden, humiliating. It rang through my ear like a warning I should have heard years ago. My cheek burned instantly, and the shock froze my breath in my chest. For a moment, the entire wedding hall fell into a stunned silence. Music stopped. Conversations died. Even the clinking of cutlery seemed to hold its breath. I stood there, small and lost among glittering chandeliers and blooming white flowers, holding the little gift bag I had brought. My fingers trembled around its handle. The bride stared at me with wide, disgusted eyes, her hand still half-raised as if she couldn't believe she had actually touched me. "Who are you?" she hissed, her voice sharp and shaking with anger. "And why did you walk into my wedding?" Her lace veil shimmered in the golden lights, but her expression twisted her beauty into something cruel. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out, only a shallow, broken breath. I didn't expect to be welcomed, but I didn't expect this. I had taken just a few quiet steps into the hall. I hadn't even approached anyone yet. She stepped closer, lowering her voice but deepening the poison in it. "People like you always come in uninvited," she said. "Always looking for something." I lowered my eyes quickly. Shame washed over me, hot and unbearable. My cheek throbbed where her hand had landed. I tried to hide my trembling, tried to breathe without sobbing. The last thing I wanted was to make a scene in front of so many strangers. Then I heard it. "Mom!" My heart stopped. His voice reached me like a lifeline and a dagger at the same time. "My son." He stood on the opposite side of the hall, staring at me with stunned eyes. His hair was slightly tousled, his suit crisp and elegant, more handsome than I had ever seen him. But confusion and panic twisted his features. The bride's face drained of color. "Mom," she repeated, voice cracking. "This woman is your mother." He didn't even answer her. He walked toward me quickly, his steps hurried and uneven. The bride moved with him, grabbing his arm desperately. "She came inside without permission," she said. "She frightened me, I didn't know who she was. She looked like someone who wandered in from the street." A few guests gasped quietly. Others looked away, clearly uncomfortable. My son stopped right in front of me. "Mom, what happened?" His voice was soft, fragile, full of guilt. I swallowed hard. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I didn't mean to cause any trouble. I was just leaving." He shook his head. "But why would you leave? You're—" His voice broke. The bride quickly cut him off. "She can't stay. Not after what happened. Security should escort her out. This is embarrassing." I stepped back, closer to the door. "It's all right," I whispered. "I should go." My son's jaw tightened. "No," he said firmly. "You slapped her." The bride blinked rapidly. "I didn't know," she protested. "She didn't belong here." My chest tightened at the words, not because of their cruelty, but because they were true in a way I had felt for years. I wrapped my arms around myself. "I'm fine," I murmured. "It was just a misunderstanding." My son eyed the forming mark on my cheek. His hands curled into fists. "It wasn't just anything." I stepped away again. "Please, don't fight on your wedding day because of me. Let me go home." "You asked me not to come," I whispered, forcing a small smile. "I should have listened." His eyes widened with guilt. "I didn't mean you're not welcome. I meant, you know how tense everything is. I didn't want you to feel out of place." A small, aching laugh escaped me. "I think I managed that on my own." He reached out for my hand, but I gently pulled it back and took another step away. Not because I didn't want him, but because I loved him too much to be the cause of discord on the most important day of his life. "I'm happy for you," I whispered. "Truly." I turned away. The hall watched me like I was something strange. Something unwelcome. Something that didn't belong among crystal glasses and polished marble floors. I pushed the heavy glass door open. The cool air outside stung my burning cheek but soothed my shaking breath. I let the door close behind me with a soft thud, leaving the whispers and stares on the other side. The parking lot was nearly empty, quiet except for distant traffic. I stood under a flickering streetlight, hugging the small gift against my chest. It was just a picture frame inside it, A photograph of him at age 6, missing his front tooth, smiling with chocolate on his cheeks. I chose it because it reminded me of simpler days, when he would run into my arms without hesitation. I closed my eyes, swallowing the ache in my chest. I told myself I was strong. I told myself I knew how to survive humiliation. But this was different. This cut deeper. Footsteps hurried across the pavement behind me. I recognized them instantly. "Mom," my son called. I didn't turn immediately. I didn't want him to see the tears gathering in my lashes. When I finally turned, he slowed to a stop in front of me, breathing hard, looking torn between fear and heartbreak. "Mom," he whispered again, "please don't go." I shook my head softly. "You should be inside. Your bride is waiting." He looked away, jaw clenched. "She shouldn't have touched you." "She was emotional," I said gently. "Weddings bring out a lot of stress." "That doesn't excuse it," he whispered. I gave him a tender smile and touched his arm. "My darling. I didn't come to start trouble. I only wanted to see you smile on your big day." From far away. Quietly. His eyes filled with tears, he kept blinking away. "Why would you stand far away?" My breath hitched. I had waited so long to hear such softness in his voice again. "Because I didn't want to be a burden." He stepped closer. "You're not a burden. You never were." The wind brushed my hair gently. The streetlight flickered above us. For a moment, it felt like time stopped. Then the doors behind us opened sharply. The bride's father marched toward us, anger stiffening every step he took. "Son," he said coldly, "you need to come back inside. The ceremony is delayed." My son turned to face him but didn't step away from me. "She needs to leave," the man continued. "This scene is unnecessary." I lowered my head, shame weighing on my shoulders. "She didn't make a scene," my son said, voice steady. "She was leaving quietly until she got slapped." The man's expression tightened. "This is your wedding. Your focus should be on your bride." "My focus is on respecting my mother," he shot back. The man exhaled sharply. "Your decisions will have consequences." My son didn't even flinch. "Then I'll face them." He turned back toward me, his expression softening again. "I love you, Mom," he whispered. My voice shook. "I love you too." He held my hand for a long moment, his thumb brushing gently over my knuckles as if trying to say 1,000 things he had held inside for years. Then I released his hand. "Go," I whispered. "Before it gets worse inside." He hesitated, his eyes begging me to let him stay, but finally nodded. "Call me when you reach home," he said. "Please." "I will. And I'll come tomorrow." My throat tightened. "Tomorrow," I repeated softly. He leaned forward and placed a gentle kiss on my forehead, just like when he was little, and for a moment, everything hurt and healed all at once. Then he turned and walked back toward the hall. I watched him disappear behind the glowing doors. My cheek still burned. My heart still ached. But deep inside, something flickered softly. Hope. Because even though tonight broke me, tomorrow might give me a chance to be his mother again. I didn't even get a chance to breathe before life broke me again. I remember standing there that morning, holding my son's old lunchbox, the one I used to pack when he was just a shy little boy, and feeling my chest tighten as I whispered, "How did we get here, my child?" My voice shook because I had spent my whole life fighting for him, building everything I had around keeping him safe, yet I could feel the ground cracking under my feet like it was warning me that something terrible was coming. I didn't wait for calm. I didn't wait for comfort. I jumped straight into the storm because that's what mothers do. And if you're watching this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. You see, for years I lived like a shadow, moving quietly in the background, cleaning, cooking, saving, doing everything so my son could grow into a man who never had to feel the hunger or fear I once did. I worked 2 jobs, often returning home with swollen feet and shaking hands, but every time I looked at him sleeping on that tiny bed, I would whisper, "You're worth it, baby. Every pain is worth it." When he grew older, he would say things like, "Mom, you don't have to push yourself so hard," but he never knew I cried in the kitchen after he left the room, because I wanted to give him a life he could be proud of. Still, no matter how much love I poured into him, I often found myself facing silence, long walls, and the growing distance that comes when a child starts seeing the world through eyes that no longer see you. And when he fell in love, I tried to be happy for him, but something inside me tightened every time his fiancée looked at me with those cold, measuring eyes, like she was judging me for every scar I carried from the past. I tried to ignore it. I tried to smile. I tried to be that easygoing mother-in-law who stays out of the way. But her words cut deep. Once she sneered, "Maybe you should let us handle things. Times have changed, you know." I swallowed my pride, telling myself that maybe I was imagining the disrespect, maybe I was being too sensitive. But then she told my son, "Your mom doesn't fit into our lifestyle," and those words hit me like a stone to the chest. My son defended her. Not loudly, not with anger, but with that quiet tone that said he had already chosen sides. Still, I held on. I kept telling myself that love makes people blind, that he would return to me once the fog cleared. I kept cooking his favorite meals, hoping he would show up. I kept checking my phone for his messages. I kept praying. Always praying. Because a mother's heart doesn't break all at once, it fractures in small pieces until one day, there's nothing left but tiny shards that still somehow beat. And every day I tried to glue myself back together, pretending everything was fine, pretending I wasn't losing the only person I had ever lived for. I never realized how powerful words could be until I saw my son start believing the ones that weren't true. It started slowly, almost like a fog rolling into a room you've lived in your whole life. At first, I thought it was just his new bride being nervous, or maybe he was tired from the wedding planning. But then I started noticing the distance in his eyes, the way he barely smiled when he looked at me, how he would excuse himself from calls as though the sound of my voice was a burden. I asked him once, softly, "Why don't you talk to me anymore?" And he just shrugged, saying, "I'm busy, Mom. You wouldn't understand." That one line cut deeper than any slap, deeper than any insult I had endured in my life, because it came from the person I had poured my soul into. I had worked through nights, skipping meals, patching his clothes, keeping him warm when winter came early, just so he could have a life where he never had to feel small, and suddenly, it seemed like none of it mattered. Then the lies began. At first, they were small, subtle whispers that my son repeated to himself. "Mom wants attention. Mom can't fit in with people like us. Mom is holding me back." I could hear the echo of her voice in his tone, almost word for word. I saw him texting me, distant and polite, the warmth he used to carry absent. "Mom, don't visit. Don't call so often. I'm busy. Not now." It was like watching a stranger sit in my son's chair at the kitchen table. And the worst part was that I didn't know how to break through the walls she had built between us. She painted me as the villain, a poor, desperate woman who didn't belong in their new life, and my son, eager to please and scared to lose her approval, believed it without question. Every smile I tried to give, every word I whispered, every gentle reminder of who he really was, bounced off those walls, leaving me aching. I remember the night I overheard them talking outside my apartment. I had just returned from work, my legs heavy, my hands smelling of bleach and soap. I leaned against the stairwell railing, hoping to catch a glimpse without being seen. Their voices were muffled but sharp, precise, slicing through the air like knives. "She's the reason people don't take you seriously," she said. "You need distance. Cut her off before she ruins everything for you." I felt the floor shift beneath me. I wanted to scream, to run down and slap her myself, but my body froze. And worse, my son just nodded. He didn't argue. He didn't defend me. He simply accepted it, as if her words were truth carved in stone. That night, I cried so much my pillow was soaked before dawn, but I didn't knock on his door. I couldn't. I didn't want to make him choose between me and the woman he believed loved him. I tried to reason with him in texts and calls, but everything came back cold. "Mom, please stop making this complicated. You don't understand my world. Let me live my life without interference." Each message was a dagger, each word carefully placed to keep me away, to convince me that my love was not welcome. I wanted to tell him how much I missed him, how hollow the house felt without his laughter, how I lived every day replaying memories of him falling asleep in my arms. But I didn't. I had to hold back. Because even one word could ignite her wrath, and I couldn't risk him turning further from me. Every time I walked past his favorite restaurant, I imagined him sitting there, laughing with her, pretending the years of my sacrifice didn't exist. Every holiday I cooked his favorite meal, I imagined him refusing my invitation, sitting instead with her family, forgetting the nights I spent awake nursing him through fever, the countless mornings I woke before dawn to make sure he had breakfast, shoes, and clean clothes. It felt like losing him in slow motion, a thief taking everything I had built in silence. The final straw came on a Thursday afternoon. I was on the phone, hoping for a casual check-in, when she appeared in the background, looming over him. I didn't hear the whole conversation, only the sharp fragments. "She doesn't belong in our life," she hissed. "You have to keep her away. She'll ruin everything you're trying to build." He didn't answer immediately, and then he said softly, almost apologetically, "Okay, I understand." My heart stopped. I could barely breathe. How could he just agree? He had been mine for 20 years, and in one sentence, he handed me over to someone else's definition of love and family. I wanted to run, scream, cry, beg, but I stayed silent. I listened as the door closed behind them. For the next few weeks, the distance grew unbearable. He stopped inviting me to dinners, stopped coming home, and stopped calling. Every message I sent was brief, coldly answered. "Not now. I'm busy. Maybe later." And each maybe later felt like a lifetime of rejection. My neighbors noticed my absence at community events, my friends noticed I was quieter, my reflection in the mirror reminded me that the world was changing, leaving me behind. I had been erased quietly, completely, and I didn't know how to fight back. Finally, I made the decision to attend his wedding, despite his warnings. I told myself it wasn't to confront her, not to cause trouble, only to see him one last time before he officially stepped into a life that did not include me. I dressed simply, walked quietly, and kept my eyes on the floor, hoping to avoid attention. But even from the back of the hall, I could see her noticing me, her eyes narrowing, lips pressing into a tight line. I realized then that no matter how careful I was, her world could not tolerate my existence. She had convinced my son that I was an intruder, a shadow of the past that needed to be cut away. And for a moment, I wondered if he would see through the lies, if he would remember all the nights I had stayed awake worrying about him, all the mornings I had kissed his forehead and whispered, "You are everything to me." I felt the walls close in as she moved toward me, anger radiating like heat from a fire. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "You don't belong in this room." I wanted to explain, to tell her that I was his mother, that I had loved him long before she ever appeared in his life, but the words got stuck in my throat. My son appeared then, voice shaking as he called, "Mom?" The room went silent, and I realized the truth. It wasn't her power that had driven us apart, it was the lies he had started to believe. I froze. I wanted to run and hide, but my legs didn't move. I felt the years of sacrifice, the nights of tears, the endless cooking and cleaning, all condensed into this one moment, and I wanted him to see it, to remember it, to realize that I had never been the enemy. His eyes met mine, wide with shock, and for the first time in months, I thought he might understand. But then her voice cut through again, sharp and accusing. "She's trying to ruin everything." I whispered softly, "I only came to see you, my son." He stepped forward, confused, torn, his hand reaching toward me, and I felt the first flicker of hope in what felt like a lifetime of darkness. "Mom," he said, voice trembling, "why didn't you listen to me?" I wanted to tell him everything, the lies, the hurt, the pain, but I couldn't find the words. All I could do was stand there and let him see the truth in my eyes. And for a brief, shining moment, I felt him remember, feel, and know who I was once again. The moment I walked into the hall, everything shifted. I felt it instantly, the sharp eyes, the whispered judgments, the tension hanging in the air like a storm waiting to strike. I had barely taken 2 steps when I heard her voice behind me, sharp and icy. "Why are you here?" she demanded. Her eyes flared with anger, and her hand trembled as if she might strike me again. I swallowed hard, holding my gift bag tightly. "I came to see my son," I whispered, my voice small but steady. He appeared then, moving quickly toward me, his face torn between confusion and fear. "Mom," he called. The hall seemed to pause, waiting for what would happen next. I could see her panic growing, realizing her control was slipping. She grabbed his arm. "Stay with me," she demanded, but his eyes didn't leave mine. "Why did you let her in?" she hissed. "She shouldn't be here." "I wanted to see you," I said softly, the words almost trembling as I spoke. My heart pounded in my chest, and the room felt suffocating. I could feel the crowd's eyes on us, judging, waiting, anticipating. His jaw tightened. "Mom." He began, but she interrupted again. "You're ruining everything. This is supposed to be our day, and you brought her here." He stepped forward, defiant. "She's my mother." His voice carried across the hall, stronger than I expected. She froze, the color draining from her face. "What?" she gasped. "No, you can't be serious." He nodded. "I am. You have no right to treat her this way." The room buzzed with whispers. I could hear snippets of conversations. "She's his mother? Why didn't we know? I can't believe she was slapped." I felt a strange combination of shame and vindication. All those years of sacrifice, the silent nights, the endless struggle, and it all came to this moment. I wasn't invisible anymore. Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "You're lying," she said. "You're just trying." "I didn't lie," I said, holding my ground. My voice grew firmer, though my hands trembled. "I've never lied to him, and I've never wanted to cause trouble. I only wanted to be part of his life, as any mother should." He reached for my hand, and for a moment, it felt like the world paused. He was no longer the boy who would shy away from confrontation, nor was he the man silenced by her influence. He was standing beside me, recognizing the truth he had almost lost. "Mom," he said softly, "please stay." She shook her head violently. "No. You can't let her stay. She's not part of this family. She's nothing." Her voice cracked, revealing the fear I had always sensed beneath her arrogance. "You think she's nothing?" my son's voice thundered. "She is everything. She raised me, sacrificed for me, loved me before anyone else did. And you tried to erase her, and I won't let you." The room fell silent again. Even the guests who had been murmuring stepped back, sensing the power of his words. She looked around, desperate for support, but everyone's eyes were on us. She finally realized her mask was cracking, that the lies she had built could no longer hold against the truth in his voice. "You don't understand anything," she spat, but the venom had weakened. She's manipulating you. She's trying to make this about herself." My son shook his head. "Stop it. Stop lying. I see it now. I see how much you've tried to poison my mind. I won't let you do it anymore." He turned to me, eyes glistening. "Mom, I'm sorry it took me so long to see the truth." I felt tears prick my eyes, but I held them back. My heart ached with relief and the weight of the past years pressing down. "It's all right, baby. You're here now, and that's what matters." She took a step forward, anger and fear clashing on her face. "You're mine. This wedding, this life, it's mine. You can't take him from me." He stepped closer to me instinctively. "No. He's not yours to control. He belongs to himself and to the people who love him." The words hung in the air like a spark igniting dry tinder. I could see her shaking, realizing that all her schemes, her manipulation, the careful lies she had fed him, were crumbling. For the first time, she looked vulnerable, exposed. And I felt a quiet surge of strength. I had been silent for years, invisible, overlooked, underestimated. But today, the truth had a voice, and it was mine. "I am his mother," I said clearly. "I've always been his mother. Nothing you do or say can change that." The bride's hands trembled. "You can't," she began, but no one listened. My son had already taken my hand in his, and that simple gesture told me everything. That he believed me, that he trusted me again. "I believe you," he said softly, leaning close. "All those lies, all those months of silence, I see through them now. And you are my mother. Always." Her face turned pale. She had expected submission, compliance, obedience. She had expected me to be humiliated, scared, backing away silently. But instead, I stood there, facing her, unwavering. And my son stood with me. Her mask had fallen, her control shattered, and for the first time, I realized the power of truth when it is backed by love and sacrifice. The whispers around us grew louder, but I didn't care. I wasn't worried about their judgment, their gossip. My heart was full, knowing he had finally seen me, recognized my place in his life. You don't have to stay, I told the bride quietly. But you will never erase me from his life. She glared, defeated, and finally stepped back, her posture collapsing as if the fight had drained her completely. My son squeezed my hand gently, his eyes soft, filled with gratitude and love. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for never giving up. I swallowed hard, fighting back tears. I never could, I whispered. You were worth everything. Always. For a long moment, we just stood there, hand in hand, surrounded by the chaos she had tried to create, yet untouched by it. The masks had fallen. The lies had been exposed. And in that space, fragile and beautiful, I realized that some truths cannot be hidden, some bonds cannot be broken, and some mothers, no matter how invisible they may feel, will always find a way to be seen. And when the music started again, softer this time, I felt the weight lift slightly. The wedding continued, but it was no longer hers to control. My son was ours again, and I knew that no lie, no manipulation, could ever take that away. I saw him first across the empty living room, sitting on the edge of the couch, his hands tangled in his hair, the silence around him heavy, suffocating. I didn't knock. I didn't call. I just watched him for a moment, wondering how we had come to this. Mom, he whispered when he finally looked up, his eyes red, voice breaking. I took a careful step forward, feeling my chest tighten. I'm here, baby, I said softly. I'm always here. He shook his head violently, pushing back against the chair. I can't do this anymore. I can't. The words hit me like a bucket of ice water. I felt my knees weaken. Do what? I asked, my voice trembling. Stay in this lie? Live like I'm someone else's possession? His hands dropped to his knees, fists clenched. I can't handle the lies, the betrayal, the everything. I just can't. I knelt beside him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. You're not alone. None of this is your burden to carry alone. He flinched slightly but didn't pull away. I thought I could trust her, he said, voice breaking. I thought I was making my own choices, but it's all been twisted. Every word, every action. She's been lying to me, Mom. She's been lying about you, about us, everything. I felt my heart shatter hearing him say it aloud. I never wanted this for you, I whispered. I only ever wanted you to be happy, to be safe, to be loved for who you are. He looked at me then, eyes wide, desperate. Why didn't I see it sooner? He demanded. Why did I believe her over you? Over everything we had? I didn't answer immediately. Some truths are too heavy to voice, too painful to speak aloud. Because she was clever, I finally said. She knew how to make you doubt yourself. Doubt me. Doubt what you knew was true. He buried his face in his hands. And I let her do it. I let her turn me against you. Against everything I've ever loved. His voice shook, raw with guilt and shame. I wrapped my arms around him, holding him close. It's not too late, baby. You're here now, and that's what matters. He leaned into me, and for the first time in months, I felt him truly seek comfort in my embrace. He pulled back slightly, just enough for me to see his eyes. I don't know if I can forgive myself, he whispered. I don't know if I can face her again. I squeezed his hands. You don't have to forgive her right now. You have to focus on yourself. On the truth. On what's real. His lips quivered. Everything's been so twisted. The wedding, the lies, the way I ignored my own mother for months. I can't breathe sometimes. I held his face gently between my hands. Then breathe with me. One step at a time. One moment at a time. You're not alone. He nodded slowly, and a tear rolled down his cheek. She made me think I was wrong, he admitted. She made me believe I didn't need you. That I didn't belong to you anymore. I shook my head softly. No, that's never true. You belong to yourself and to the people who truly love you. Always. Only special people. Only special people. He laughed softly, almost bitterly. I should have known. I should have seen it. I reached for the photo I had brought from my house, the one of him as a boy, smiling with chocolate on his cheeks. I handed it to him. Do you remember this day? I asked. Do you remember who held your hand when the world felt too big? He took it, clutching it tightly. I do, he whispered. And I see now. I see everything I ignored. The air was thick with unspoken emotions. Anger, pain, regret, but also relief and hope. He looked at me, voice low but steady. Mom, I don't know how to fix this. I smiled softly. You start by being honest. By telling the truth. By standing up for yourself, and for us. His fingers trembled over the photo. I feel like I've been living a lie. Like I've been drowning in someone else's story. I hugged him again. Then let's rewrite the story. Together. He exhaled, shaky and raw. She called me today. She said I was making a mistake, that I needed to follow her rules. That I couldn't trust you. I felt a flash of anger, sharp and hot. And what did you say? He swallowed hard. I said I'm done listening to lies. I said I see now who's always been honest with me. Who's always been there. You, Mom. Always you. I felt a warmth spread through me, a mixture of pride and relief. And what about her? I asked gently. Do you want to confront her? He shook his head. Not yet. I need to breathe first. I need to remember who I am without her influence. I can't face her without knowing my own heart. I nodded, understanding completely. Then we'll wait. We'll take the time we need. But know this, no one can ever erase you from my life again. He laughed softly, the first real laugh in weeks, shaky but genuine. It feels like waking up, he admitted. Like I've been asleep for so long and finally opened my eyes. I cupped his face. You've been strong all along. You just needed to see the truth for yourself. And now you have. He leaned into me, his forehead resting against mine. I'm so sorry for all the months I ignored you, all the doubts I let her plant. I feel like I've failed you. I shook my head. No. You've been tested, baby. And now you've proven yourself. The mistakes aren't yours to carry alone. We carry them together. I felt the tension finally release, the storm that had been building between us for months starting to calm. I don't want to lose myself again, he whispered. Or us. I smiled gently. You won't. Not now, not ever. He wiped his eyes and nodded, breathing deep, steadying himself. Then let's start fresh, he said. Let's be honest, let's be together, and let's never let lies control us again. I hugged him tightly, whispering into his hair, only special people. Only special people. That's who we are. That's always been us. We sat together in silence for a long moment, the weight of months of betrayal finally lifting, replaced by something fragile but real, hope. And as I held him, I realized that sometimes it takes the breaking of everything you thought you knew to finally see the truth. The breaking point was terrifying, yes, but it was also the doorway to healing. And as the sun outside the window cast golden light across his face, I felt the first spark of peace in weeks. We had survived the lies, the manipulation, the pain. And now, for the first time in months, I felt like we could breathe again. Together. I didn't expect the moment to come so quietly. After months of betrayal, manipulation, and sleepless nights, the silence felt heavier than any shouting, heavier than any slap or harsh word. He sat beside me, holding my hand tightly, and for the first time in weeks, the fear that had lodged itself in my chest began to loosen. I could see it in his eyes, the relief, the guilt, the longing to make everything right. Mom, he whispered, voice low but steady, I think I understand now. I finally understand everything. I took a deep breath, trying to hold back the tears that wanted to pour freely. It's okay, baby, I said softly. You don't have to explain. Just being here, just being with me, that's all that matters. His hands shook slightly as he squeezed mine. I've been so blind, he admitted. I let her lies convince me you were the problem. I pushed you away for months. I swallowed hard. My heart ached at his words, but I also felt a spark of hope. We can't change the past, I said gently. But we can fix the present, and we can protect the future. That's all that matters now. He nodded slowly, his eyes glistening. I want us back, Mom. I want my family, the way it was meant to be. I held him closer. Then we'll rebuild it, I whispered. Step by step. You and me. Together. The room was quiet, but it was a warm, safe quiet. No more manipulation, no more whispers behind closed doors. The lies that had driven us apart had finally been exposed, and now truth had a voice, our voice. He leaned back, his forehead resting against mine, and let out a shaky laugh. I feel like I've been asleep for so long, he said. I didn't realize how much I missed this, us. I smiled softly, my own tears slipping down. That's because some things, baby, are built to last. Even when they're buried under lies, the truth always comes back. Always. We talked for hours, unspooling months of confusion and hurt. I listened as he recounted everything she had said, every lie, every manipulation that had turned him against me. I didn't interrupt. I didn't judge. I simply held him, letting him release all the pain he had been carrying alone. I feel so foolish, he said at one point, voice breaking. I can't believe I let her poison our bond. You're not foolish, baby, I said firmly. You were human. She was clever, and she preyed on your love for me. But that's over now. You've seen the truth, and that's what counts. He looked at me then, eyes searching mine, filled with a mixture of shame and gratitude. Mom, thank you for never giving up on me, even when I didn't deserve it. I shook my head. I always believed in you. Always. That's what a mother does. He pulled back slightly, as though measuring the space between us. I want to face her, he said quietly. I want her to know she can't control me anymore. She can't hurt us. I nodded, my own heart racing. Then we'll do it together, I said. But carefully. Not with anger. With truth and dignity. That's our power now. The first step came the next day. We didn't storm into her life screaming or blaming. No, we let the truth speak for itself. He called her, calmly but firmly, explaining everything he had realized, every lie she had told, every manipulation she had attempted. I stayed nearby, silent but ready, feeling the strength that comes from years of sacrifice and love. You can't control me anymore, he said. And you can't drive a wedge between us. I see now who my family really is. The silence on the other end was telling. For the first time, her control over him crumbled completely. He hung up the phone and turned to me, relief washing over him like sunlight after a storm. It's done, he whispered. I don't have to live under her lies anymore. I pulled him close. No, baby. You never did. You just needed to remember it. Over the next few days, we rebuilt what had been lost. We shared meals, laughter, even tears, reconnecting over memories and small routines that had. Every smile, every shared joke, every quiet moment reminded me that love built through sacrifice could survive even the cruelest betrayals. I forgot how comforting your cooking is, he said one evening, smiling through tears as he ate the pasta I had made for him. It's home. I laughed softly. Only special people deserve this, I said, echoing the phrase that had carried me through every hardship. He nodded, eyes full of understanding. Only special people. Only special people. It was more than a phrase now, it was our bond, our promise, our truth. Then came the confrontation, the moment I had feared but knew was necessary. She tried to show up again, demanding control, anger flaring. But this time, we stood together. My son's voice was calm, unwavering, his tone carrying the authority of someone who finally knew the truth. This ends now, he said. You can't manipulate or threaten us. We see through your lies, and you won't hurt us again. She faltered, realizing her influence had been broken. I stepped forward, quietly but firmly. I am his mother, I said, voice carrying. Nothing you do or say can change that. We are family, built from love, sacrifice, and truth. You can leave now. Her anger collapsed into resignation. She slumped back, defeated, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes, not fear of me, but fear of losing control, fear of losing the illusion she had built. And I realized that truth, patience, and unwavering love always have the power to reclaim what has been stolen. We didn't need to shout. We didn't need revenge. Just standing together, calm and certain, made all the difference. The lies had been exposed, the bond restored, and the freedom we had longed for finally felt tangible. My son leaned against me, whispering, "I can finally breathe again." I hugged him tightly, feeling the echo of years of sacrifice ripple through me. "You always could," I said. "I just never stopped believing it." And as the sun set that evening, warm and forgiving, I realized that a mother's love leaves a mark no betrayal can erase, no lies can shadow, and no obstacle can overcome. And as we stood together, finally whole, I whispered into his hair, softly but with certainty, "What would you do if you were in my place?" Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.